what's it like to be a sports artist? Sometimes it's a real love for it, and sometimes it's a real hate for it. You know, it just kind of depends how the artwork's going. As long as I can remember, that's what I wanted to be.
From Muhammad Ali to Derek Jeter, Armando Villarreal has been commissioned to paint some of America's most iconic athletes. His paintings hang in galleries and private collections around the world, a long way from his start in Imperial, Nebraska.
The first thing I ever remember doing would have been the Dallas Cowboys in, I think, first grade. When I was in third grade, I had another football drawing in crayons. That one made it to the state art show, so they made a big deal out of it. There was a lot of stuff I painted, but sports art, there's just something about it.
Growing up in Imperial, Armando never had a strong art influence until he had Mr. Hainline as an art teacher.
He was a high school kid, there's no doubt about it. Day to day, come in with the fire lit and the passion and accomplish a tremendous amount of work in his imagery. And the next time you'd see him, there'd be the possibility that I'm just not in the mood today, kind of the typical artist roller coaster. So trying to motivate him was probably the biggest obstacle.
I was not the best art student. I'll be the first to admit that. I listened. I didn't exactly pay attention. I think that was probably the only F I ever got in high school was in art class. Hainline was always the guy that, you know, if reach for the stars, you can always take the moon, you know, it just, you know, there's something about you that you can do it. And granted, he probably told all of his kids that.
What I wanted him to do is to realize that if he's looking to the stars, something distant, and he encounters the moon on the way, seize the moment, and then reassess from there and move forward.
Although Hainline gave Armando the push he needed to chase his dream, Armando's father took a more realistic approach.
Dad says that I was stubborn. He told me that art would be a good hobby, that I'd never make a living at it. Yeah, that's pretty sound fatherly advice for anybody else, because, I mean, seriously, who makes a living as an artist?
You know, if you want him to do something, you tell him the opposite. I don't want you to do this. He would do it.
There's probably a little bit of truth to that.
So he kind of had to do that, and yet he wasn't where he needed to be. So I had to give him, you know, you're going to have to either get better at this, or you're going to have to go find a real job.
Whether he was, you know, using some reverse psychology on me or not, I'm not sure. But it was good motivation either way.
And it could have gone either way. You know, he could have said, well, Dad's right. I'll never be an artist, so I will find a real job.
We made a go at the wildlife art and all that stuff for a while. And it was hard to make money at it because there was so much wildlife art. And I was an unknown kid from Imperial, Nebraska.
Armando went all in and moved to Florida. After bouncing around and picking up odd jobs for a while, Armando found employment in California painting custom motorcycles. Even though he painted award-winning bikes, Armando could see the effects the recession had on the shop.
I could kind of see the writing on the wall that stuff wasn't going very well at the shop. So I got online and started looking for a job on Craigslist. And there was a sports artist. I was like, well, that'd be perfect. So I click on it and I read it, and you know, it says to email Sally.
The journey to find Armando was a really long journey, and sometimes it was a really daunting journey. I actually looked at over 600 artists' work, and at one point I got it down to around about 200.
She sent out a mass email to 14 artists. She's like, you know, we went through 500-600 artists, and we've picked you 14 to be, you know, as the finalist. So I gotta start going through these names, and there's guys that are like professional, really well-known sports artists. I didn't hear much about it for a couple of days, and then she writes me back and says, can we meet?
I knew as soon as I met Mondo that this was definitely going to be a great choice.
What I want to do is take you to a place that brings out the emotion out of the viewer. I want you to feel like you're maybe in the batter's box, or that you're an outside linebacker, like you're part of the game. I can't think of much else to paint that's harder than sports art, but that's part of why I like it so much, is the challenge. They're washed out from all the reflections in the light, and then you're throwing portrait art on top of that. So it's not like I'm painting a duck. I mean, when you're painting a mallard duck, it's just got to have a green head, and that's a mallard duck. You know, when you're painting David Ortiz, it has to look like David Ortiz, you know, but there's no leeway there.
Armando Villarreal is the foremost sports artist of his generation because it's simply a fact. There just isn't somebody of his generation so young that has accomplished that many paintings. His paintings now hang in museums or in very important private collections.
You know, that's not really my thing to judge. I don't see it as I am. I feel like I still have so much more to learn and so many more things to accomplish that just once again seems a little premature to be throwing something out like that.
Though he might be just looking at landing on the moon now, he still realizes he's got to go to the stars.
The way I see it, my next painting's my best painting. So as long as I have that mindset, I'm fine with where I'm at, because it'll always get better. And when I get to the point where that's my best painting, then I can quit.